Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into something really powerful, maybe even a bit misunderstood in business, but for affiliate marketers, for you listening, this concept, it's basically the closest thing to a shortcut for maximizing your success, without burning yourself out on wasted effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't just some abstract theory, right? It's almost like a structural reality in business results. If you're ignoring this, you're essentially, well, you're choosing to spend maybe 80% of your time on things that just don't move the needle much. So today we're really diving deep into the 80-20 rule. Scientifically, it's known as the Pareto principle.
Okay, the Pareto principle. Before we kind of unleash this on everyone's strategy, let's just nail down the core idea. For anyone maybe hearing this for the first time, what's the hard definition?
Sure. So it's an observation actually goes way back to a 19th century Italian economist, Vilfredo Pareto. He noticed that roughly 80% of, let's say, results or outcomes, they come from only about 20% of the causes or, the actions or inputs.
Wow, okay, so massive disproportionate impact. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly. And it's really important to stress this isn't some rigid mathematical law. It's a natural thing, something we observe. You might look at your business and find it's more like 85-15 or maybe 75-25. The numbers don't have to perfectly add up to 100. The key thing for you, the listener, to get is that a small chunk of what you do, the vital few, that's responsible for the vast majority of your success.
Right, and for anyone making money online, doesn't matter if you're building niche sites or managing a huge affiliate program, figuring out where that powerful 20% is. Well, that's the whole game, isn't it? Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start where it really hits home. The money, the direct revenue streams.
Makes sense. And yeah, the 80-20 rule is probably most obvious when you look at product selection. I mean, almost every affiliate marketer, when they really analyze it, finds that something like 80% of their total monthly income, it comes from only about 20% of the products they're promoting.
That's kind of startling, especially if...
It is. And often that top 20%, it gets even tighter, maybe down to just 1 to 5 products. We sometimes call these the golden eggs.
Golden eggs, I like that.
Yeah. And the strategic grow here is pretty clear. You get the absolute best return on investment, your ROI, by focusing your energy on those specific products, the ones that convert well, pay well, and that your audience is actually looking for.
So, okay, let's say I dive into my sales data. I find those, maybe it's 5 golden eggs. What's my immediate next step? Am I just ripping out every other affiliate link I have?
Not necessarily, not straight away. The first step is really optimization and replication. First, figure out why those 5 are working so well. Is it the commission, the product quality, maybe just a perfect audience fit? Then you start looking around, check out successful competitors. Are they pushing similar high payout products that fit your audience too? If you see that pattern repeating, that's a strong signal. It means you've likely found one of those recurring golden egg situations, and you need to test it aggressively.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess we can apply the same logic to content creation. Because, man, we all know that feeling spending hours on a huge article, and it just fizzles. 2 clicks. Where does the 80-20 hit hardest with website traffic?
It's pretty much the same ratio, remarkably consistent, actually. You'll find 80%, sometimes even more, of a site's total traffic and the profit that comes from it. It's generated by just 20% of the articles. We've seen case studies, real data, where over 80% of the page views came from just 14.5% of the total articles on the site.
Wow. So that tiny fraction of content is just carrying all the weight.
Yeah.
But if 80% of our content is basically underperforming, are we just supposed to accept that? Accept failure on most of what we publish?
Not failure, maybe reality. But you use that reality to prioritize your effort, become more efficient. The realization isn't, oh, I failed on 80%. It's more like, okay, I must focus on and maximize these few winners, that winning content. It needs constant attention updates, better internal linking, maybe adding video to keep it dominant. And speaking of maximizing, this rule is huge for conversion rate optimization.
CRO. Turning those visitors into actual buyers or leads. How does 80-20 play out there?
Well, think about all the changes you can make to a page. The reality is 80% of the extra revenue you get from optimization, it often comes from just 20% of the tweaks you implement. People can waste so much time fiddling with, font sizes or button colors, minor stuff. The high-impact 20%, those are the changes that directly tackle buyer friction right away.
Okay, so what are those specific high-leverage changes, the ones in that vital 20%?
Usually they're the things that build instant trust and make the value proposition crystal clear. So think high-quality product comparison tables. They're huge. Also, really well-placed, psychologically smart call-to-action buttons. And sometimes just changing the ad type or where you place ads makes a big difference. Basically, the buyer arrives skeptical. These tools cut through that skepticism way faster than minor aesthetic tweaks.
Right, so the strategy is clear then. Find your articles that already get traffic, your commercial pages, and implement those big impact changes immediately, like right now. Don't worry about the small stuff until later. That's how you use your time wisely.
Exactly. That maximizes your time and effort, which actually leads us nicely into the next area, high leverage actions in your overall marketing and even how you manage your business. Because 80/20 isn't just about results, it's about effort too.
Okay, let's talk SEO strategy. This is where people could just pour endless hours, right? How does 80/20 help us be smarter with our SEO content?
Yeah, so instead of the old school thinking of just churning out hundreds of short, quick posts, hoping something sticks, you flip it. You focus on quality content over sheer quantity. Your core 20% effort should go into creating fewer, but much more valuable, really detailed guides. We're talking like 2,000, maybe even 5,000 words for some topics. Aim for total mastery level coverage.
That feels a bit counterintuitive, though. So many people are still playing that volume game. Are we telling listeners to actually avoid the really big, high-volume, super competitive keywords? Isn't that leaving potential money on the table?
Well, you're avoiding a fight you're probably going to lose, especially if you're not a huge company. Those massive keywords, they're battlegrounds for big SEO firms with deep pockets. Your smart 20% focus should be on what we sometimes call the sweet spot in keyword selection.
Okay, define the sweet spot for us. What does that look like?
It's keywords that have decent monthly search volume, maybe? Say, somewhere between 100 and 1,000 unique visitors per month. That's still significant traffic. But critically, when you look at the current search results for those keywords, they're kind of underwhelming. The content is thin or outdated or just doesn't fully answer the searcher's question.
Ah, I see.
You can rank faster with fewer resources by targeting these because the big players haven't really bothered to fully optimize for them yet. You're basically finding topics where people are actively searching, but nobody's giving them that comprehensive, really satisfying answer.
That's a massive advantage, especially for smaller sites or solo operators. So dedicate your core time, that 20%, to filling those specific underserved gaps. You sidestep the heavy competition and grab niche traffic faster.
Precisely. And, the same kind of ratio applies to link building, too. It turns out that roughly 80% of your site's authority, its domain authority or ranking power, often comes from only about 20% of your backlinks.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Because people spend ages chasing hundreds, maybe thousands of low-quality links.
They absolutely do. It's often wasted effort. The real focus, the 80/20 approach, is to secure just a small number, maybe a handful of really good authoritative backlinks. Links from major relevant sites in your industry, those few powerful links, they'll boost your authority far more than hundreds of weak directory-style links, which honestly might even hurt you nowadays. It's a shift from just volume to focusing on leverage and authority.
That alone could save people a ton of time and outreach budget.
Okay, now what about listeners who might be juggling multiple things? Maybe they run several websites, perhaps they're even buying and selling sites. How does 80/20 become a time management tool there?
Right. If you're balancing multiple projects, the rule is pretty stark. 80% of your active working time should be spent on the 20% of your sites that are showing the most promise, the most growth, your big winners. If a site is just stagnant or worse, declining, you need to delegate as basic maintenance or seriously consider selling it off. Your high-value time, your core effort, has to be reserved for scaling what's already proven to be working well. And flipping that around, if I'm looking to sell one of my sites, I imagine potential buyers are applying their own 80/20 lens during valuation, right? They're not looking at everything equally.
No, absolutely not. When someone's valuing a website for purchase, probably only 20% of the factors they look at actually account for 80% of the final sale price. Buyers, especially experienced ones, are sophisticated. They'll pay a series premium for sites that absolutely nail 3 critical areas. These tend to outweigh almost everything else combined.
Okay, lay them on us. What are those 3 key valuation pillars that make up most of the price tag?
Number 1, undeniably, is profit. How much money does it consistently make? That's the main driver. Then, domain age often plays a significant role. Older, established domains tend to be valued higher. And third is the quality of the backlink profile we just talked about. Strong, authoritative links, signal stability, and ranking potential. These 3 are the core focus. Everything else, site speed, hosting details, even how diversified the income streams are, that tends to fall into the less critical 80% for valuation purposes.
Okay, we spent a good chunk of time talking about the undeniable power of using this 80/20 framework. how focusing on that vital few can really generate massive upside. But like with any powerful tool, just applying it blindly without thinking, that can be really risky. Let's shift gears a bit and look at the critical view. The risks, the common misinterpretations, maybe some of the cons of relying too heavily on this.
Yeah, that's crucial. And the single biggest risk, the absolute core con, is forgetting about diversification. Think about it. If you focus only on those 20% of products generating 80% of your revenue, your entire online business becomes dangerously dependent on just a few external companies or programs. What happens if one of your golden egg products suddenly shuts down its affiliate program? Or the company drastically cuts commissions?
Ouch. Yeah, your income gets hammered overnight, instantly crippled. So the takeaway is use the 80-20 rule to decide where to focus your effort in your optimization time, but you must still maintain diversification in your actual revenue streams. Protect yourself from that external risk. Always be kind of nurturing the next potential golden egg in the background.
Exactly right. And this leads directly to probably the most common logical mistake people make with the Pareto principle. It's the idea that the remaining 80%, the 80% of efforts or products or content that isn't in the top 20% is basically unimportant and should just be, eliminated, cut.
Yeah, I hear that advice all the time. Cut the losers.
Yeah.
Focus only on winners. Why is that actually a flawed way to think about it?
Because that 80% often forms the foundation, the supporting structure. You might cut a bunch of supporting articles that maybe didn't make much money directly, but they were actually necessary context for your winning 20% articles. They helped establish authority or funneled initial traffic. That 80% of your efforts or products, yeah, they might not be high leverage winners right now, but they still contribute some value, maybe even just minimal value. And critically, they spread out your risk. They reduce that dangerous concentration. So focusing on the top 20%, it's about prioritization, smart prioritization, not necessarily wholesale elimination.
That's a really important distinction. And we probably see this play out most clearly when managing larger affiliate programs, right? If you're the affiliate manager, like you said, maybe 80% of your partners, your affiliates, are only driving 20% of the leads or sales.
Yeah.
The con of just accepting that is, well, your whole program isn't performing optimally, suboptimal ROI. But to kicking out 80% of your partners, that's often really costly, time-consuming, and maybe bad for relationships.
Exactly. So the real opportunity here, the pro move, is to find a systematic way to actually disrupt that 80-20 ratio in your favor. You shouldn't just shrug and accept that most partners will underperform. The solution is to put systems, maybe incentives in place to actively help and motivate that bottom 80% to improve their performance.
Okay, so what does that kind of proactive system look like for an affiliate manager in practice? How do you lift up that 80%?
It usually involves more hands-on management, not less. And really clear goal setting. You need to set up smart KPIs, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound goals for those partners who aren't hitting the mark yet. It brings transparency and shows them exactly what good looks like. You provide them with data, feedback, show them why their current tactics might not be converting as well as they could.
So instead of just ignoring that underperforming 80%, you're actually trying to empower them, give them the tools and insights to maybe graduate into that top 20% tier eventually.
You incentivize them to do it. Probably the most effective tool here is often a tiered commission structure. Maybe you start partners off at a lower standard commission rate, but, and here's the key, once they hit a specific predefined sales volume or conversion target, that's smart KPI, they automatically jump up to a significantly higher commission percentage on future sales.
Ah, clever. So that system doesn't just reward the existing top performers, it actively motivates everyone else, that whole 80%, to really push harder to reach those higher, more lucrative performance levels.
Exactly. It creates a really clear pathway to greater success for them and for you. It actively works to disrupt that static 80-20 ratio over time. And as a bonus, by potentially lifting more partners into higher performance tiers, you're also reducing your business's overall concentration risk. You're less reliant on just a few superstars. It's kind of the ultimate application of the Pareto principle, isn't it? Using the core insight that effort and results are disproportionate to design a system that actually makes more of the total effort highly effective.
So what does this all mean? What's the big takeaway for you listening? Basically, the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, it's this incredibly powerful lens for prioritization in affiliate marketing. It helps ensure that your most precious resource, which is always your time, is spent as effectively as possible, concentrating on those vital few actions, finding those golden egg products, building those friction-killing comparison tables, targeting those SEO sweet spot keywords, the things that truly, genuinely move the revenue needle for you.
Yeah, it really boils down to designing your workflows, your systems, so that you are intentionally, consciously directing your time towards the highest leverage opportunities first. And maybe here's a final thought to chew on. If your goal is to continuously improve that 80-20 ratio, maybe get to 70-30 or even 60-40, where more of your effort falls into that high impact zone, what processes or checkpoints could you put in place starting today? How can you ensure that your next 10 big strategic actions are all focused squarely on that vital few? How can you systematically carve out more of the time you currently spend on the lower impact 80%, maybe over the next quarter? That's the ongoing challenge.
That really is the goal, isn't it? Maximizing value, minimizing waste across everything we do. Thank you so much for tuning into this deep dive with us today.